नमस्ते, I'm अशोक व्यास और मेरे साथ आज रथी राजा जी हैं। तो राजा शब्द आते ही ऐसा लगता है किंग। What what makes you feel like a king or queen, Rathi ji? What makes you happy, to put it differently?
What makes me happy? I think to be in the zone of creating and giving. I think that's what makes me happy.
So when you say creating and giving, I am reminded of Swami Vivekananda's quote. He says that त्याग और सेवा हमारे राष्ट्रीय आदर्श हैं, which is sacrifice and service, and that is what you. And I am also reminded of Swami Dayanand Saraswati's aim for seva. So uh, when we talk about Bharat or Sanatan Dharma or Guru Shishya Parampara, is like a backbone for the flow of consciousness, the way it has been. Talk to me about your personal experience on this front.
You know, thank you, Ashokji. I sometimes there's not enough uh, places where we can keep thanking and repeating the thanks to one's guru. Puja. For me, it was Puja Swami Ji. Dayanand Saraswati, and his parampara, and I have been very, very blessed to have him as a teacher, and I feel as a friend. I think that's what I learned from him. The spirit of compassion. Never uh, um, hurt anybody. In this journey of teaching, be very mindful not to get arrogant about anything. And Puja Swamiji walked that. That's why his name was Dayananda. He walked compassion, and
Wow.
so and he was very he could see. It was not that he was loose about anything. He was not loose at all. So that compassion is what I think gives us to do our, what they say, the desha kala duty. What am I to do today in the situation I'm in now? What can I do, be of service? I think that only comes from inner freedom. It cannot come by anything else. You have to have deep inner freedom, and for that I'm at Puja Swamiji's feet.
I've been fortunate to have been in his presence, and I think he would make you giggle, and at the same time, he would somehow make you imbibe the profound teaching of Vedanta in his own unique way. And as you see here, Bhagwan Dakshinamurti ji, who was his Ishta also, and there is Mauna Vyakhya, or that is the teaching in silence. Uh, so, silence of someone who is realized, it speaks differently than, of course, silence of someone who has not understood the art of living. Uh,
True,
uh,
true.
so, talk to me about when you started having this role of sharing knowledge, how the style of Swami Dayanand Saraswati ji helped you in connecting with students.
I one of the things I think is that not to judge, and everyone is coming from their own point in their life, whether it's kids or their parents. And I think that is the spirit which has sustained me, um, is is to give the benefit of the doubt. And it's not something in a what you call it, in a manner that is condescending. Truly we do not know where someone is coming from, or whether, especially the kids, we don't know where they're coming from. So I think that is the way Puja Swamiji taught. I think anyone who heard his teachings at his feet, attended his classes, you came away with something. Of course, if there are 10 people there, each one will come away with something different, maybe. But over time, he was very consistent. Nothing, he always, and this is something I've tried to understand how he did it. He always taught the whole, you know, he taught the whole picture all the time. So you cannot but get it. He didn't say, today I'll do one, tomorrow I'll do two, three. No, I give you the whole picture at one go, always. So those are really Mahapurushas.
So, Radhiji, talking about human aspiration and individuals' ambitions, and so, like the 3 decades ago, when you started YICG, that is Young Indian Cultural Group, here in New York, and this in the global Sanatan Samachar that we are sharing it is inspiring for people in different parts of the world who have Bharat in their heart, but they find that in new setting it's challenging and difficult first to sustain it for themselves and then to think about imparting that knowledge to the next generation. So, where was the seed of inspiration for you to take this up? And allow me also to remember your father served in Indian army at a senior position. Was the discipline that you saw in his personality also helped you in taking this forward?
Absolutely. My childhood was had lot of desh bhakti built in. I never thought of it that way. Only when I was much older, I realized how much of that desh bhakti I had in me. So I think when I came to this country, that was something that I needed to give back. It's a bhavana I wanted to give back. And that bhavana, teaching is a great way to give back. So, and one of the things about teaching, and I started with young kids, of course, one of the greatest thing about teaching is you're a perpetual student yourself. So, and you have put Swami Vivekananda there. He was my inspiration all through my childhood and my adulthood, and continues to be an inspiration today. Is that bhavana is what we can teach, actually. You talk to someone who learned something when they were 5 years old and ask them to say what it was when they're 10 years old. Sab kuch they would have forgotten. But what they will remember is a teacher's bhavana, you know. And that goes for even my high school kids. You talk to them when they're 32, सब भूल जाएंगे, but ये नहीं भूलेंगे कि कोई था who is giving back, who has a certain bhavana, because that is what goes into your heart. And only the heart can inspire you. You cannot make a 10-point list. That you make only after you've been inspired. So I see myself, I can give my heart. I can give my heart to people, and I do it in this fashion. And I'm always trying to learn. In fact, really, my latest project is how to use AI in my projects. So I have a project to learn myself.
Talking about learning, let us recollect over a period of, say, 30 years. There have been many students who, when they came, they were, of course, in their teens, and now they're grown ups. I have seen that they also maintain their continuity of relationship with YICG. And what do you hear? What do you hear from them in terms of the impressions that were created while they attended different classes conducted at YICG, how it helped them in developing their personality or being successful in their career?
I think the part that has been helpful for them, especially in this era where things go at a very fast clip, सब कुछ बहुत तेज से चलता है. So where I think it helps them is it was their steady place, their childhood steady place. Yes, घर का steadiness तो है, but they went to a place, they learned with few people, and they saw them over many years, not 1 or 2 years. They saw them over 10, 15, 20 years even. So that consistency is what they remember, which is for us also, Ashokji, for you and for me. When we think of aspects of our childhood, stuff that is consistent is what gives you strength, actually. Because as you grow older, you realize, the jhatkas come in different ways. And then you go back to your consistent things that you can hang on to. And I find one thing, and that's something actually I am actively working on, is to continue the leadership program into college and young professionals. It's a very specific program that we're working on, and I'm hoping that the the catchment widens, you know. And I do believe you do something, do even if it's small, do it very well. So if 5, 10 youth are benefited, they'll be leaders of tomorrow. We need plenty of leaders.
And indeed, we need a lot of positively charged people. And in that context, now let's learn about this Chariots of Fate. Uh, why this name, Chariots of Fate?
Thank you, Ashokji. Chariots of Fate is the game was inspired. It's a full-fledged game, and if you're just showing that imagery of the chariot and the charioteer and the horses, which is the beautiful metaphor from Kathopanishad that Lord Yama taught young Nachiketa through after Nachiketa went through so many trials and tribulations. He taught how to view the human body and the life journey, how to view what that could be like, and how the chariot, the body is a chariot, and your horses are your senses, and the reins are your buddhi, and the charioteer is the intellect, and you are the atma over there. It's very hard to have a better metaphor, I think, anywhere. This is a most perfect metaphor to, and if we understand it really well, it helps us actually define our life, you know. So this game has four components. It has charioteer, it has obstacles, it has meditations, and it has poisons. The poisons are the five poisons, human poisons from the Yoga Sutras, the five kleshas. And it's a game set in old fashioned times, a chariot race around a track, say, and you're supposed to accumulate miles. It's a fun game. You don't have to know anything about any Upanishad or Bhagavad Gita, but all that learning happens, on the side. You don't even know you're learning. Um,
Let me take this moment to read the particular shloka, and which is the key of Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, and coming from this, that is Atmanam Rathitam Vidvi Shariram Rathameva tu Buddhim tu Sarathim Vidvi Manah Pragrahameva cha. This is what you just shared, but I just in a lighter way, and I was saying you probably chose this because it has some resonance with the sound of your name, Atmanam Rathitam Rathi Raja.
I wish, but it is a very visual metaphor. It Upanishad has so many beautiful stories, but Kathopanishad stands so mightily. Just that one Upanishad is enough in your life. So this particular stanza verse embodies the entire teaching. So if we can live with this understanding, then we know what our senses do to you, why it's important to have a good buddhi, why the buddhi has to watch over the mind. The mind gets jhatkafied everywhere. Yahan go, yahan do listen to this, speak this. You have to be very conscious of your five senses and how they get bombarded. So it is not just a picture, in the Gita ka picture jo hai na, it's not just that. You have to have a teaching behind that. And that is what Lord Yama taught Nachiketa. That's what I also try. And in this game release, we are going to have 12 to 15 different mini games which explore all these aspects.
Mm.
Anyone who attends
So,
the festival.
Ratiji, just
Yes.
as an outsider, when I say outside, meaning I do not know how kids are responding to these games, those who are creating as well as those who are playing. But in general, when we talk about games, the idea is that you just chill, you just relax. You don't want to have sort of a heavy thing on your mind. But the very idea, as it comes without knowing how it is placed, it feels like it might be some heavy stuff, and one would be discouraged. It's not like that.
Not at all. It is a lot of fun. And when you're playing the game, see the rule of any game is you want to win. The game has to be designed such that there have to be winners and losers. And there's a lot of strategy also involved. I find when the kids play it, they'll do very mean things to each other because winning is the goal. And we strongly encourage that. After the game is played, we don't say acha philosophy ke baat karenge abhi. No. That's a different topic, that you do. But here's the thing: by doing game development and sharing the game with others and developing all the mini games that we will see we will be doing, that itself is a great journey. That itself is a journey of seva, where you are managing your emotions in a smart manner. Otherwise, we can all spend our time watching TV, going here and there. But no, instead, we are doing all this good calm.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, let me also share something. As in New York, I have also officiated certain ceremonies as Hindu priest, and at times when I would go, parents would already start telling kids. They will start making excuse on behalf of the kid that, oh, he won't be able to sit cross-legged, so can he sit on the stool? And the kid would say, no, no, I can sit, mommy. So so many times parents are overprotective and kind of in the name of being friendly with kids are actually creating certain barriers for them to flow. Keeping that idea, how was your experience of working with kids? Because parents have to bring kids, and you have worked with kids of different ages.
yes. It has been a very fulfilling journey on this, because this was a very new, technically a very new way of doing things. But it has to come from very sound conviction, and the proof is in the pudding, as I say. At every stage, you have to have different mithai to show that this is happening. So I think all that took place. But what I found, which one of the parents actually only recently told me, is that my kids now have no problem talking about seva. So that idea that there is something called seva, something called give back, and you can do it in so many ways. It's not just attending a gala and writing a check. That there are so many. One of our themes this year, which I have launched, is called "Be Local, Do Local," meaning we are on Long Island, do many things on Long Island. One of our biggest thing was collaborating with Rewile Long Island for planting natives as our offering for Prithvi, Mother Earth. And with that, we had many games to go with it too. So the game sales we're going to do, part of the some of the funds will go to this local entity. But we're not about raising a lot of money to give back, but give a lot of your time. So
So allow me
that's
to
what.
mention two things, Ratiji. One, we need people in our lives whom we see practicing selfless way of serving. And in your presence, if I take the liberty of saying that many kids must have felt that in your presence and in the presence of other teachers of YICG, and that is a great wealth which empowers you in a manner which is unimaginable. Secondly, you mentioned about do be local, do for local. I was reminded of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's talking about local for global, but that's a different context. And continuing with the need to be positive, Vivekanand ji, Tagore said about him that if you want to know Bharat, read Vivekananda. Everything about him is positive. There's nothing negative about. But the kind of circumstances that you have around you, many times it becomes difficult to sustain that sense of positive orientation. In your case, initially, when you were not having as many students as you have had later on, and you could have opted for some profession which would have added more to your bank account, but you were doing this, you were doing this. So was there any moment when you said, why did I take this, and if there was some vulnerable moment, then how you bounce back with your positive way of sustaining it?
I think the spirit of the teaching and the stuff I've done has actually itself sustained me. Because when in doubt, I have felt when you create something of value, that itself sustains you. Because you cannot give back by counting, how many students you have, how many classes you run. That was not me. I mean, I didn't do that. because that's a very big ditch. It's a ditch, you fall into it. So I think what has sustained me has been the teaching and what has emerged from the teaching. And th- I think that's the way I've had to bounce back. Clearly, when you run anything for over 30 years, there will always be situations where you have to deal with the unpredictable. It's not just, it's human emotions, and everyone is coming from wherever they're coming. And I have had to, and it's not much, but whenever I've had to do it, I have to find myself first. And myself is in from the teachings and the teacher. That piece is where I go back to. I hope that answers your question.
I think it does, and it is in such a way that it is universally applicable, and also remind me of Bhagwan Raman Maharshi, whose core of the teaching takes us to this key question: Who am I? So you have to find yourself. You have to find yourself, and finding is what makes life interesting. And if I may also mention that in the last 25 years or so, I've been a part of a television channel here in New York, and I think many times as I would come back from the office, I would feel a sense of high sometimes if I have interacted with some individuals who are accomplished, and I could be a medium in bringing out something which they loved for the viewers. It fills you with a sense of joy which you cannot you cannot show to anybody else. It is just the but it keeps you happy, and I think it keeps you going. So
You hit the nail on the head. See, you just said it. When you brought something out, right? And I've mentioned this to you, Ashok, before. I mean, you are an icon. You do know how to bring something out of people when they communicate, so that the viewer is left with something of value, something authentic, something they can take back and say, "Hey, I get that. I also walk that path." So kudos.
oh, thank you very much. And now let's go towards this particular day, which is December 17th, and festival celebrating game release. What to expect? Uh,
Oh, plenty of unexpected. I expect everyone to participate. First of all, we have many games, maybe 14 table games, some floor games, and of course, the game release. All our youth will be running different stations. The idea is to have a lot of fun. We plan to have a parade of champions. So come be part of a team, bring your own team. Just come and join the masti.
Wonderful. So I thank Rathiji, and I would also repeat that this is December 17th, 1 to 4 p.m., and the place is Asamite Temple, and that is at Hicksville. And you would be happy as well as amazed to see how Sanatan values are inspiring, and youth, boys and girls, uh, inspired by that positive energy which comes from the flow of selfless expression would be palpably felt for those 3 hours especially, especially, and even after that also. So wishing great and grand success for this festival as well as for other activities. Ratiji, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashok ji. See you there.